Snow fell gently over the small suburban town of Maplewood, Ohio, the kind of town where Christmas lights hung from every porch and the smell of cinnamon and pine filled the air. Inside Harrison's Market, one of the biggest grocery stores in town, people rushed through aisles with carts overflowing. Turkeys, wrapping paper, cookies, and toys. Among them was Richard Coleman, a self-made millionaire in his early 40s. Dressed simply in a dark coat and boots, no one would guess he owned several tech companies worth millions. Beside him walked his 10-year-old son, Ethan, pushing a cart and humming a Christmas tune. "Dad, do we really need 3 kinds of cheese?" Ethan asked with a grin. Richard laughed. "Your mom says Christmas only comes once a year." As they turned into the cereal aisle, Ethan suddenly slowed down. His smile faded. At a few feet away stood a young mother and her son, no older than Ethan. The boy clutched a worn jacket, his shoes clearly too small. The mother held a calculator in her hand, carefully adding prices as she placed items back on the shelf. "Mom," the boy whispered, "can we get the hot chocolate this year?" The mother knelt down, her voice gentle but tired. "Not this time, sweetheart. We need to save for rent. Maybe next Christmas." The boy nodded, trying to be brave, but his eyes lingered on the box before walking away. Ethan's heart sank. "Dad," he whispered, tugging at Richard's sleeve. "Did you hear that?" Richard nodded slowly. "They don't have enough money," Ethan said. "And it's Christmas." Richard stayed quiet as they watched the mother pick up a small bag of rice, a loaf of bread, and canned soup. "No decorations, no treats. Dad," Ethan said firmly, "we should help them." Richard looked at his son. "We don't know their situation, Ethan." Ethan thought for a moment. "Then let's find out." Richard studied his son's serious face. He had built his fortune by trusting instincts. Right now, his sons felt stronger than any business deal. "Okay," Richard said, but quietly. They paid for their groceries and waited outside. From a distance, they followed the mother and her son as they walked, not to a car, but to a bus stop. Snow collected on their thin coats as they boarded a crowded bus. Richard followed, keeping a respectful distance. The bus dropped them near an old apartment building, paint peeling, lights flickering. The mother unlocked a door to a small, dim apartment. Through the window, Richard saw nearly empty shelves and a single string of broken Christmas lights taped to the wall. That Ethan's voice trembled. "Dad, they're really poor." Richard felt something tighten in his chest. That night, instead of heading home, Richard made a few phone calls to the Christmas surprise on Christmas Eve. As the mother, Sarah, wrapped her son Lucas in a scarf, there was a knock at the door. She opened it cautiously. Standing there were Ethan and Richard, along with several delivery workers. "Ma'am," Richard said gently, "we met you at the grocery store. We hope this doesn't offend you." Before she could speak, the workers began bringing in boxes, food, warm clothes, blankets, toys, and wrapped gifts. A fully cooked turkey, fresh vegetables, desserts, and even a small Christmas tree. Sarah's hands flew to her mouth. Tears streamed down her face. I don't understand," she whispered. Ethan stepped forward. "You didn't buy hot chocolate for Lucas," he said softly. "So we brought you enough for every winter." Lucas stared at the gifts, eyes wide. Is this real?" Richard knelt down. "Very real. And this isn't charity. It's Christmas." But it didn't stop there. Richard handed Sarah an envelope. Inside was a year's rent paid in advance, grocery vouchers, and a job referral at one of his companies. "Remote work, flexible hours. You deserve a fresh start," Richard said. "And Lucas deserves a magical Christmas." Sarah collapsed into a chair, sobbing, not from sadness, but from relief. That night, as snow fell brighter than ever, Lucas sipped hot chocolate by a glowing tree. Laughter filled the apartment. It was the most wonderful Christmas of their lives. On the way home, Ethan leaned against his father in the car. "Dad," he said quietly, "are we rich because we have money, or because we can help people?" Richard smiled, eyes shining. "Tonight, son, we're rich for the right reason." From that Christmas on, the Coleman family made it a tradition. One family, one miracle, every year. And somewhere in Maplewood, a boy learned that kindness can change lives, and a millionaire learned that his greatest wealth was sitting right beside him.